Okay, so you are asked to graph and you are given a graphing window. And let's talk about what that graphing window represents. So a viewing rectangle on the graphing calculator is telling me some information about it. So let's start with an actual equation that we can work through this example with. So let's say I have f of x equals 0.2 x squared minus 1. Now, this viewing window here is telling me a set of information, and it's always going to be the x values followed by the y values. So x then y. So the viewing window starts with my x minimum, x maximum, x scale, and then it's going to be the y minimum, y maximum, y scale. I'm going to do this first by hand, and then we'll do it by a calculator. So when we talk about that x min, max, and scale, oh, it's too big. Let's do this smaller. Sorry. Should look something like this, where my x minimum value is negative 6.2, and it actually wouldn't be labeled. So I have to understand that, but actually the calculator is not going to show you that value for you. So that's going to be, and my scale means that each one of these hatches, starting at 0, you will see a mark. One, let's see, I got to make sure I get them all in there. So, oops. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're not going to see the 6.2. It'll just go past it. And over here the same way. Negative 3, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're going to go just past 6.2. And then the y values are going to go from negative 4 to positive 4. And again, okay, so y values, oops. Let me start at the center, go up, up, and then down, and that's going to be a positive 4 and a negative. So y minimum is negative 4, y maximum is positive 4, and my scale again is 1. So 2, 3, 4. And now our graph, if you can graph this by hand, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm just going to make a table. So with this one, let's make some x and y values. X, y again. I'm going to do it by calculator, but everything can also be done by hand. So if I just plugged in a couple of values in here to get an idea of what this looks like we'll do negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. So I plug in negative 2 and I square it is positive 4 times 0.2 is, let's see, 0.2 times 4 is 0.8 minus 1, because we still have that minus 1 there, is going to be negative 0.2. And I'm going to do this for each one of them again, same process. Negative 1 squared, negative 1 times itself is positive 1. That's the squared part. Times 0.2 just becomes 0.2 minus 1 is negative 0.8. I plug in 0 for x. 0 times 0 is 0 times 0.2 is 0 minus 1 is negative 1. And I'm going to plug in positive 1 for x is 1 times 1 is 1 times 0.2 is 0.2 minus 1 is negative 0.8. Looking familiar? And I'm going to plug in positive 2 here. And 2 squared is 4 times 0.2 is 0.8 minus 1 is 0, negative 0, negative 0.2. And again, looking the same. So I'll plot those values. Negative 2 and negative 0.2 is about here. negative 1 and negative 0.8 is about here. 0, negative 1, 1, negative 0.8, 2, negative 0.2, and this is what my graph seems to be looking like here. Now, if I'm to pull out my graphing calculator, I would expect the graph to look pretty much exactly like that with the same information, but it'll be a lot faster and easier with the graphing calculator. So I'm going to plug that into my graphing calculator with turning it on and hitting the y equals. Oops, I got negative point. I need negative 1 there. So y equals and plug it in exactly as you see it. And then I'm going to hit my viewing rectangle is the window button here. And all I'm going to do is plug in those values as I am told them. I am told the x value is negative 6.2 for the minimum. The maximum is 6.2. The scale is 1. The y minimum value is negative 4. The y maximum value is 4, and the y scale is 1. And now I'm going to hit graph. And my graph by hand and by the calculator should look very, very, very much alike. As even down to these, it's very important to actually look at these hash marks here. These are lining up with this, and that's real important. So that is how you graph with a viewing rectangle and a formula on your graphing calculator. Now, let's say I want to evaluate this for the y value of the function when x is 3. So that's actually a pretty easy thing to do on a graphing calculator. I'm going to push trace, and I'm going to hit 3. And notice that my x is now being shown as 3. I'm going to hit enter, and it'll going to give me my y value of 0.8. And I can verify that this is going to work for any of these values on the table I had here. I could plug in negative 2, enter, and I get the y value correct. Negative 1, enter. So I can do this for any x value. I can use the trace feature of the graph so I can see the y value.